Welcome to Mine Explorers episode 68. 68, where we are here with Crystal and Blue the cat, returning again. He enjoys the podcast sessions.
He's actually Blue the bear. He's the blue bear.
The blue bear, yeah. He's a pretty good cat. He's kind of a turd sometimes, but he's starting to warm up to me. So I wanted to jump right in with a cool story that has a different angle on it. So you may have read that two amateur treasure hunters and metal detectorists, which I've never seen that before. Metal detectorists. Found a treasure in Norway that is a massive Viking cache of silver coins. Originally, they found 19 coins, and then it ballooned into a cache of nearly 3,000 silver coins found. So what I thought is...
That has to be so exciting to be those people of like, they find one coin, then they find another coin and another one. Because like, I'm sure they waited decades for this.
Well, you'd be super excited just to find one, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But
and
finding 3,000.
And then you find like the biggest Viking stash ever recorded. Like, that's pretty rad.
That is pretty rad, yeah. Super cool. I mean, it'd be cool to find one, and to find 19, I'm sure they were thrilled. And then 3,000.
Then they definitely have to report it.
Yeah, then you have to report it. So it's a good and bad thing. So coin hoards are common in places like England. They're very rare in Norway. This hoard dates to the late 10th to mid 11th centuries, which is a volatile transitional period in Viking history. I was going to say transitional period. So really cool. So the hoard contains a mix of foreign coins from England and Germany and local early Norwegian coins. And it's really a cool mix. So there's like Byzantine coins, Norwegian, English, really cool.
So they have
post-Roman.
So they're coins from all over?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So somebody's big hoard, yeah, some king or somebody. They said it's probably from Harald Hardrada, the last great Viking king. So
he was probably hiding it from his family.
Probably. So what I think is interesting is obviously this is national news and it's cool on its own, but I wanted to dig in Mine Explorers. Yeah, global news. Yeah, I wanted to dig in from Mine Explorers and say, okay, well, where did the coins come from? Where were they mined? What did processing and refining look like in 1040? So 1,000 years ago. What did they do? So first thing, silver wasn't mined in Scandinavia during the Viking Age. Silver was all imported. So that's first thing. So they didn't actually mine it in Scandinavia. So the silver likely arrived in Scandinavia through three main channels: trade on the Baltic and North Sea routes, plunder and raiding, which the Vikings were known for, and mercenary pay from service to the Byzantine emperor as bodyguards in foreign lands. So the coins could have been collected as mercenary pay, through raiding, or through trade. Because they had no native silver mines, the Viking economy was fundamentally a recycling economy. They treated silver as bullion. It didn't matter if it was a coin, a brooch, decorative ring. If you needed to pay for something, silver was silver. And they just did it by weight. And they'd often cut jewelry into hack silver to reach an exact weight. So you could cut off whatever you needed. So the smelting.
So you'd wear your money on your wrist. That's cool. Okay.
Yep, just take a chunk off, yeah. Why they didn't mine silver, the Vikings were masters of iron mining. So you see the Viking swords and all the things they had. So they mined iron. They mined it in bogs. It's called bog iron, and it came from porous, pea-sized nodules harvested from wetlands, which would be an interesting process to think about. They'd roast the nodules to drive off moisture, then smelt them in a bloomery furnace.
Bloomery?
Yep, bloomery, like bloomers, your underwear. This was a small clay-lined shaft furnace fed with charcoal and forced air from bellows, which really we've seen these old charcoal furnaces here in the West from the early 1800s, mid to late 1800s.
Oh, yeah.
The goal was to create a bloom, a spongy mass of iron and slag. Then they would hammer it and fold it repeatedly to drive out the impurities. So the minting, how did they make the coins? When the Vikings started producing their own coins, following foreign models, the process was simple but effective. They would use 2 hardened iron dies, essentially heavy-duty metal stamps. One die was fixed into a block of wood, and the other was used as a handheld punch. They would use a strike, which is a blank disc of silver, was placed on the bottom die, and the top die was placed on top. A single powerful blow with a heavy hammer would strike the image into both sides of the coin simultaneously. So the 2 dies, they put the silver in between, hit it, and it would stamp it. Quality control, because they valued the weight of the metal above all else. Merchants carried small scales everywhere. If a merchant didn't trust the coin, they would cut or test it to ensure it was solid silver throughout, rather than a plated base metal forgery, which has been happening throughout all of time.
All of time is still happening.
So it's likely that the coins from this hoard all had their own individual journeys. So many started mined as ore in a German or Byzantine mountain. It was carried across thousands of miles to a Viking settlement, and then it could have been melted and recast and melted in a ring and a coin, and then once again as a coin. And then it was buried in a field near a local iron smelting workshop, sitting under the dirt for 1,000 years until a metal detector
Maybe
found
it was stolen.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. 1,000 years, and there's probably not much story on it. I don't think the Vikings were really big into written records, but
Right, and if it was a hoard, chances are they didn't want anyone to know about it.
right.
It was secret stash.
So it was lost in a battle or hidden or whatever and forgotten about, and it's there today. But
Grandma's
yeah, I think
secret stash.
I think the Vikings shared a lot of history and things through stories and songs and lore. I'm not sure about writings. I've never really heard a lot about extensive Viking writings, but maybe they had them and I'm just haven't been exposed to it. But I know they have songs. And speaking of songs, in a couple of weeks, I am going to the Falmouth Sea Shanty Festival in Cornwall.
And you're taking your mom?
And I'm taking my mom. Falmouth is the place. It's not Foulmouth, although I'm sure there's some foul-mouthed sea sailors there at the Shanty Festival. But maybe we'll hear some Viking songs there.
Miko's going to learn some new words.
Yeah, because it's the international festival, so I don't think they're just going to sing English sea shanty songs, but there may be some, but I think they'll probably sing some Viking ones. So
Well, that'd be so fun.
I'll let you know. I'll let you all know how the trip goes. I'm visiting some tin mines, some really old ones and some newer ones, and I'm actually going to tour one. And I will report back and hopefully have some B-roll and some footage to show off.
Hopefully they let you take photos. The salt mine in Salzburg didn't let us.
I bet they will. I've seen a lot of photos online.
Oh,
you can
good.
kind of tell by that, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, the Salzburg Salt Works, they do their own kind of photo scheme. They want you to buy their pictures, so.
Yeah.
A lot of places have done away with that. So anyway, you've got a whole bunch to talk about today.
Well, yeah, so I've been doing some thinking. Just looking at our own personal Burjack's pipeline and things coming in the door, it's like, holy cow, the industry is just going nuts. Exploration is going absolutely bonkers. And we keep talking about it on our show. And I was thinking, like, what's really driving exploration right now? And so I did some research yesterday, and I found 5 different drivers that are contributing to this new boom cycle that we're all seeing. I mean, we've been talking to industry people over the year, and everyone's experiencing the same thing we are, and nobody's experienced it like this before. People who have been in the industry for decades haven't seen it like this.
Right.
And so it's like, what is going on? Because it's really exciting. Like, we've been waiting for 15 years for this, but now I want to know why. So I did a little bit of homework last night, and I want to talk about it with you because I think it's really interesting.
Cool.
So there are 5 drivers that are the driving force behind mineral exploration, specifically in America. That's what we're talking. We're not talking globally. We're just talking here.
Although a lot of the same factors, I'm sure, are applying globally too.
Absolutely. But we're a U.S.-based company. We do exploration in the U.S. So driver number 1, the policy revolution. So this is another Trump administration. They're honestly driving most of this. From what I found is unleashing the American Energy Executive Order that was passed January of 2025. I honestly don't know much about this, but the long and short of it is reducing the permitting timelines.
And that led into Fast 41.
And that led into Fast 41 and some other things.
And we're actually seeing it. Originally, there was a lot of skepticism about whether permitting red tape was going to actually get cut and things were going to move faster. We're actually seeing it happen.
Yeah.
There's projects that are getting permitted. I think just in the last year, we've got 4 copper mines across the finish
amazing.
line. And we've made huge strides with others.
Did you know the U.S. has the second longest permitting approval process in the world?
Yeah. No surprise.
29 years.
Yeah.
The number 1 is Zambia.
Yeah.
At like 30.
30 years.
It's bullshit.
Wow.
It's ridiculous. We have some work to do there.
Yeah.
That will be a different conversation. Driver number 2, Project Vault. We've talked about that many times. The $12 billion fund of critical minerals that the government will stockpile and keep prices at a fixed cost, right? So companies have a little bit more of a security to develop and process mines. Because again, given the long permitting process, the permitting cycle and approval process, we need, if you're in a commodity like tungsten, say, the price of tungsten could drop overnight and then your whole program is gone. But if you have a little bit of that government security, then it could help get your project into production.
Yeah, and I talked about this before. I think I much prefer government-sponsored buying programs.
Right.
If the state's going to get involved, I'd prefer they do that rather than taking direct stakes in companies and doing what they were doing there. Because they tend to not pick the best companies and the best projects. It's whoever's got the best connections. I mean, it's politics.
Oh, absolutely.
So I like Project Vault. Obviously, there's still politics and things to play there to get them to buy your supply versus someone else's. But it's a good way to put a floor on things. We saw in the 40s and 50s in the United States, the government had a buying program for tungsten. It supported a lot of the mines we're relooking at today. Mm-hmm. But one thing I wanted to add too is that since the U.S. announced Project Vault, the EU and China have both announced that they want to create their own versions of it as well. Strategic mineral stockpiles.
EU and China.
Yep. And so that's going to help drive a lot of these same minerals as well.
I mean, that's honestly why we're doing all of this, is because of China.
Right. And China, for a long time, in some minerals, they have plenty of supply, like rare earths, things like that. And they're using it as a strategic weapon. In other minerals, like antimony or tungsten or things like that, they're actually domestically using up a lot of what they're producing, and so they're curbing exports because of more supply and demand issues, not strategic issues. So them building their own stockpile makes sense for the same reasons it does for everyone else.
Yeah, right. I mean, national security is important.
Right.
Driver number 3, AI data center raw material demand. Again, we've been talking about this pretty extensively.
Pretty much every episode.
That's not going away, and it's only going to increase. And this is, ironically, AI thinks is going to be the biggest driver of keeping the boom cycle going, is just the need for raw minerals for AI technology.
Yeah, particularly in copper. I'd see it being a huge driver in copper.
Absolutely.
All this electrification, AI, data centers, robotics, copper, and a whole host of other minerals. But yeah, definitely rare earths, copper, things like that.
And, our beloved construction aggregate materials.
Yep. And energy minerals like uranium.
Absolutely.
They're going to be huge because of
AI. Huge driver. Yep. So that will keep the boom cycle going. Driver number 4, national security and China decoupling. Again, going back to reducing our reliance on China. They control, 14 of the critical minerals on our list. At a 50 to 100% import rate.
Yeah.
It's quite significant.
And a majority of many others.
So it's just becoming more independent on that, which is going to take a lot of work as far as permitting going and just changing the public sentiment on mining and why it's needed and all that good stuff. And then driver number 5, gold and silver at generational highs. Again, we've talked about this extensively on our show.
Yep.
Silver is at an all-time high again. Gold's at an all-time high again. I don't know what they are right now.
Although not today. No, actually, they've dipped a lot in the last week since our last episode. They've dipped a lot. So gold currently today, and we are about a week ahead of when this will air, is dipped below that 4,500 level that I call this kind of the floor. It pushed through that. And then silver is now back in the 70s again.
Right.
Temporary still, like, look, the debt problems are not going away. Central bank buying is going to pick up. What's happening now is a lot of countries are selling their gold reserves to buy energy, to buy oil, to buy energy, to prop things up. And so there's a lot of forced selling going on now, and you'll see that reverse. Things are keying up for breakout. I think later this summer we'll see gold and silver both start to climb higher again. But frankly, I'm really happy with them where they're at, and it's still very good for the producers. I mean, there's still...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, some silver miners are using this as an excuse to boost their ASICs and increase costs, which is bad. But a lot of the gold producers and everybody else are just generating record cash flows that they're using for share buybacks. They're using to should be using to fund M&A activities again soon.
Yep.
And they're paying down debt, which they should also continue to do. So I see it, even if it stays around here for quite some time, it's good, solid pricing for the industry.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's only going to go up, really.
Yeah. The debt's not going away. The dollar's being devalued all the time.
Yeah.
Inflation, we're in a situation where we could enter some stagflation territory. There's very much, it's all over the financial news. Everybody's reading about this K-shaped economy.
Right.
Where the top 1% is just continually getting wealthier and wealthier, and then everybody else is struggling. And you're seeing that in housing affordability. It's starting to show through in things like birth rates, because like having children is an optimistic exercise. Like, I believe in the future. But now where people can't afford homes and they have to work 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet, people aren't feeling as comfortable with that. So something has to give eventually, and we need an economy that serves more people, or serious problems are coming, and all of that's positive for gold.
Yeah.
For the people who can still afford it.
Yeah.
Which is becoming a
smaller
number who can afford much
bracket.
more. I read that there are over 3 million millionaires in the United States. Or I think it's 30 million. It's like 10%. Like 1 in 11 people in the U.S. are millionaires. So there's a ton of millionaires.
And they're probably still broke.
Yeah, and then it just doesn't mean what it used to mean.
No,
like,
it doesn't.
Having $1 million net worth, you can still be very solidly middle class and struggling.
Yeah.
Especially if it's tied up in like your home that you bought 20 years ago, and upkeep and taxes and everything are super expensive on it, but your salary hasn't increased that much.
Yeah.
So, yeah, lots of structural issues going on in society and economy that they're going to keep pushing gold higher, inevitably. But I don't think it's going to slowly climb. I think it's kind of consolidating, and then you're going to see another big jump up.
Big jump, and then it'll probably consolidate again and just keep going. Just
That's how things go, yeah.
Trajectory, like a heartbeat almost.
Yep.
Interesting. It's a wild world
so
we are in.
Recap your 5 pillars.
So recapping the 5 pillars, we have the policy revolution. Project Vault. AI data center demand.
It's a big one.
National security. And gold and silver.
Generational highs. Not necessarily highs today, but generational highs. Still near all-time highs, though.
Hi, kitty.
I mean, I was looking at a great project yesterday, And I was just looking at their corporate presentation from their last PFS they published in 2024. And their gold price they were modeling off of was $2,000 an ounce.
Oof.
And it's like, dang, we're more than double that.
So they're doing okay.
4,000, and it went even higher, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you keep those costs down.
Yeah.
Now's a good
Well,
time.
they're not in production yet, but when they revise their feasibility study soon, it'll look a lot better.
Yeah, so let's go talk about history a little bit, because you're a history guy. Yeah. You like to know what's happened in the past.
Yep.
So right now, like we just said, we're rolling into a good boom cycle. It could last decades, right? Hopefully. We want it to. Given the 5 things we just listed, it's looking good to be around for a long time. But let's talk about how it started, again, in the United States. So the first boom cycle we saw was the California Gold Rush in 1849.
Yep, and there were smaller rushes in Georgia and the East before that, but the California Gold Rush was
That was
major.
the big movement of the people on the East Coast moving across the country and developing California and Nevada and Utah and everywhere else along the way.
Yep.
And that lasted about 50 years until the low-hanging fruit was picked.
Yeah, and then California became a regulatory nightmare state. So now that whole area is permanently like
whole West Coast.
Nobody serious works.
The whole West Coast is off limits for mining.
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's be honest.
People try, but it's hard.
No. So that was a huge boom. Huge boom. Lasted about 50 years. And then the second boom, World War II and the atomic age. So the 40s to 60s, about a 20-year run where the driving force was critical minerals, again, uranium, and all the things needed for nuclear weapons and nuclear power.
So almost all these tungsten mines we've been looking at lately were mined during that period.
Yep, exactly. So it's coming back around.
Yeah.
Boom 3, the 70s, the gold and silver era. This was about 11-year period from 1971 to 1982, when President Nixon closed the gold window in 1971 and ended the Bretton Woods system of fixed exchange rates.
Yeah.
So that's when gold was fixed at $35 an ounce, and then it ballooned up to $850 an ounce that January.
So wild.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about that, like, that's the equivalent of gold now at $4,000 an ounce, $4,500 an ounce, going to like $100,000 an ounce.
Yeah, at 2,300% increase.
Yeah, it's
in
wild.
9 years.
I mean, obviously that's decades of pent up demand suddenly being met and things balancing out.
Yep.
So you're unlikely to see anything like that. But you can see like the bull markets can be pretty crazy. You're not just looking at like 20, 10, 15% year over year increases.
Wild.
It could double.
2,300%. That's insane. That's crazy. Yeah, and that turned the Great Basin became the most intensely drilled regions on the planet.
And most of that Nevada, yes.
Yeah. Yep, the Great Basin, Carlin Trend, Battle Mountain, Gold Strike, all discovered during that era. Because I mean, gold was.
Well, they knew it was there. They made a lot of discoveries, no doubt, but they knew there was gold there in low grades, and it was kind of one of those, well, if gold ever gets high enough, this will be viable.
Right.
And then suddenly it's like, okay, let's go.
Now it's uncapped. Yep. Boom 4, the China Supercycle. So this was less focused on the U.S. This was more of a global boom. Lasted about 8 years when China was going through their demand for raw materials, steel, iron, all that.
Yeah, so I read that book about all the global trading houses and how they got started.
Yeah.
Glencore, Mark Rich, and all these guys, and all the trading houses, and how they started and they had some of these booms, the 70s, the 80s, the Soviet Union, the fall of the Soviet Union, but China was the huge boom because they just said, go globally and get us all the copper, all the iron, all the aluminum, all the coal, all the everything.
Right.
And so it created this huge thing.
I mean, China thinks in decades.
Right.
We think in years.
Yeah.
So that's why we're so far behind, is because we've been very reactionary, and China's been like, no, we're going to grow. We're a growing nation. We're going to be a world superpower.
Right.
We need these materials, and we need them from everywhere on the planet.
Yep.
So let's just get them.
Yeah.
not always ethically, but we're getting there. Yeah, so that was a big boom globally. So the biggest winners were Australian for iron ore, Chile for copper, Canada for uranium and potash. Whereas the US were, kind of having the issue with the permitting delays. That's kind of our biggest constraint.
Yeah.
Is back to permitting.
Yeah.
Back to permitting. Yeah, and that was really the last big driver that we've seen. So now, being 2026, we're ready for another boom cycle.
Yeah, and I think AI, just calling it the AI boom and the data center boom is probably appropriate, but it goes back to those 5 pillars. We have this bifurcation, we have this global supply chains where everyone's building their own supply chain, and there's Eastern and Western. We have that, but then at the end of the day, the historians will probably chalk it up to electrification.
Yeah.
And they'll include automobiles, robotics, data centers, all that into one, and just call it
wind.
Electrification.
Yeah.
The big electrification boom of 2026 to 2074.
Yeah, right.
I'll take 50 years.
What's really going to slow it down? Besides,
there's a lot of things.
There's a lot of things that could. I could honestly see people just being like, "No, we're done with mine. We hate it. We're not no data centers in my backyard," and just like completely going crazy of any type of development, which would mean that's going to go overseas.
Right.
It's not just because it's not here doesn't mean it's going away.
Right.
And that's really the long and short of it is the demand is still going to be there.
Yeah.
We're still going to want our new cell phones. We're still going to want our new EV cars.
To speak frankly, I think the biggest risk is there's huge disruption in jobs, and there's going to be huge disruption in how we do things, and everything's changing.
Everything's changing.
There's very few things I don't look at AI and think I go to the doctor and I'm like, AI could do this job better.
Right.
I have attorneys go through a contract and I'm like, I literally had AI do this before and it flagged a lot more things than you're seeing. There's a lot of different things, and it's going to affect almost everybody. We've talked about before, like things you still do with your hands. Manual labor is going to be there. There's a lot of jobs in the middle, but the top and the bottom, like data entry all the way up to CEO, CFO, can all be replaced with AI. So how governments and these tech giants, who are basically bureaucracies on their own now, handle everybody else, making sure people are taken care of, will determine if it keeps going or not.
It's not very encouraging, is it?
Because there's a lot of people who are going to be displaced and angry, and they already are. There's a lot of people, we talked about affordability, we talked about all these other things. If too many people lose their jobs and don't have any sort of fallback,
there's going to be some unrest.
There's going to be some unrest, and that's the biggest thing that could unravel, because then you will see pitchforks come out for data centers, like we already are, like with this Utah data center. Now, granted, that was fairly well manufactured. I've seen some evidence now that that was well funded, coordinated by China and other groups. So it wasn't organic, but there'll be a lot of organic unrest and things.
Oh, and that's the other thing. Yeah, you have other countries manipulating your own country.
Right, and to be fair, like we can't pretend like the United States doesn't do that to everyone else.
Oh no, we absolutely do. Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely funding unrest groups inside of
yeah.
other countries, 100%.
Yeah,
that's not even a secret.
Bullying through and through.
Yeah, so I'd see that's the biggest threat to the electrification.
Yeah.
Is people just say, you know what, let's go back to the 50s and just torch the data centers. Everyone throw out your cell phones and computers. Let's derail everything. So how they handle quelling the unrest and discontent, like this K-shaped thing can't go on forever.
No, it can't. It will collapse.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, it needs to be more fair for everyone, and there needs to be ways for people to contribute and make money. And I'm not saying like a lot of people go straight to UBI, universal basic income, and just pay everyone to sit around.
But then you get that entitlement,
and
the
never
laziness,
ends well.
and
It
then
never
people are
ends
still
well.
unsatisfied because they don't have any sense of worth.
And at the end of the day, they want to work and they want to have good opportunities.
People
to create
inherently
a living.
want to contribute.
Right.
Like there's very few people I think who are like, no, I just don't want to do anything.
Yeah, there's very few. I think majority of people want
to do something,
to provide value and do something, and they're happy to work and earn a living.
Right.
But that's becoming harder and harder, and AI will make it better in some cases and much worse
in other cases.
So how that's handled will determine that. I see that being the biggest factor that will disrupt this electrical boom, this big electrification boom I see.
Right.
I think is unrest and
you got to take care of the people.
So. And it's complex and it's hard because
no, absolutely. I don't envy that.
These huge disruptions, and it's really like it's such a massive disruptor that there's a lot of people on one side who are like, no, this is actually going to help the economy and we're going to have this new age of prosperity that's going to be the biggest and best ever.
People have this idea
and
of
then other people who are like, no, this is going to destroy jobs and wreak havoc and create all these problems. But the reality is it probably will do both.
It's going to be a blend of both.
And in different areas and for different people.
Yeah. Yeah, so there'll be parts of the country or even cities that's like thriving, prospering, doing great, and then just absolutely.
I mean, we're seeing that now.
We're seeing that now.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the policies are starting to create a lot of problems some places and create a lot of opportunities others.
Yeah, policies
just
don't fix
accelerate.
everything.
I don't think they fix much of anything.
They really don't. It's just red tape, bureaucrat,
Yeah.
junk. Yeah.
Anyway,
Interesting.
straying from mining, but yeah. Cool. Well, I think that was a pretty good episode. A lot to chew on.
Lot to chew on.
Anything else on your list?
No, I'm excited to get back in the field. Had a great time when we were exploring for tungsten. Got to get on rope for the first time in a little bit. That felt good. It was nice
you
to.
rappelled down 2 shafts.
It was nice to know I could still do it, and it was just fine.
Yeah, you rappelled down 2 shafts. You went down the 100-foot shaft and an 80-foot shaft.
Yep.
And one of them was kind of nasty, so you got to.
Yeah, definitely
see that again.
sat on some, a false floor at the 80-foot level, and
Yeah,
who
it's
knows
only
what
20 feet below you, but
Yeah, it still moved.
just messy.
Yeah, you don't like it when it moves. When the ground moves underneath it, it's not a good
You
feeling.
don't want to get all tangled up in that.
No, but no, it's fun. I love getting out in the field.
It's fun. It's been really nice. I've been getting out a lot more lately too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was chained to a desk for a long time in consulting, doing a lot of reports and things, and now I'm doing more field work with Geo and Landman, which is good.
Yep.
Summer's coming. It's pretty much here. Hopefully you all get out and have some adventures on your own, and we'll see you next week for episode 68. Wow.
This was 68.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Episode 69.